Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Donovan. This is the Xiaomi Mi A2 Lite. It's a device that I've been very excited to receive. This is an Android One device available right now on GearBest.com, which I'll go ahead and bring up right now. And it's available from anywhere about $160, as you can see here. With the variant that I have, it's available for $180, as it's about to show in just a second. So there it is. It's available in gold, black, and light blue. And today I just want to share with you my first impressions of this device so far. And I gotta say that it's definitely as good as I was expecting. The reason being that, honestly, for me, these Mi A2, A1, and also the A2 Lite now, they just pack probably the best bang for your buck out of any device I think you can pick up right now. So let's go ahead and talk about what makes this device so great. So first of all, one of the hugest selling points for this device is the fact that it has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, and of course the price point is also very good. But this is just a fantastic all-around device. It is also an Android One device, which means that it's going to get regular software updates and also really good cameras, especially for this price point. So let's go ahead now and jump right into everything that this thing has to offer. So first of all, let me just mention that the version I have is the $180 version. This comes with 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of internal storage. One thing that's important to mention here is the bands that it supports in terms of LTE. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here so you can see those. So if you are living in the United States, which is where I live, it has bands 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. So the ones that are going to be important are 2, 4, and 5. So that's what's going to give you LTE on both AT&T and T-Mobile. However, it's important to note that it does not support band 12 and 17. So if you live in a super rural area, just kind of be aware of the fact that this phone may not get as good a service as a regular Samsung device that supports bands 12 and 17. So for instance, I got this device, the Samsung J3 Star, literally the exact same day that I got this device. This one costs the same amount, but this phone does not even come close to having the kind of specs that this device packs. But it does support those rural bands, so that's something that's worth considering if you're picking up a device like this. Now, for the most part, everywhere I personally go, this phone does get 4G LTE. So that's because where I live, band 4 is the main T-Mobile band. So just as a little bit of perspective, here's a speed test that I ran last night. So 38.5 download, 3.14 upload. In comparison, my iPhone 8 Plus was closer to like 50, maybe 60 download, and a little bit higher for the upload as well. So it's not going to get the same kind of speeds you get with a higher end device, but still not bad speeds at all. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk more about what all this thing has to offer. So I've already mentioned the price point. Let's talk about the build quality. So in comparison, I'm just going to keep comparing it, to the Samsung J3 Star. So this is what you're going to get with a typical budget-friendly device like this one. So this is going to be a plastic backing, single camera, smaller battery. So this has a 5-inch display. Now, not all budget-friendly phones are going to be like that, but this one, in this case, has a metal backing. So it has plastic on both the top and the bottom. We have 12 and 5 megapixel cameras, so dual cameras with a fingerprint sensor, and that fingerprint sensor does work very well. It's very accurate. We do have micro USB, so that's a little bit of a negative here. We have a microphone and a speaker. Something that kind of separates Xiaomi apart from other devices, the fact that they still have an IR blaster. They're one of the only companies that still throws in that IR blaster to a bunch of their devices. Also headphone jack, and I think that about covers it in terms of build quality. We do have, of course, the power button and volume rocker on that side. Then over on this side, this is kind of cool. This actually supports dual SIM plus a micro SD card up to 256 gigs of storage. So this one already has 64 gigs of internal storage. So throw in a 256 gig SD card and you are going to be rocking and rolling with whatever music and movies you want to throw on there for a long time. Of course, you can throw on tons of video that you shoot and pictures. You're not going to run out of storage with this device for the most part, unless you are going crazy with it. Now, in terms of the display, this is another big selling point. We have a 5.8-inch 1080p display, which For just for fun, I'm going to mention that beats the iPhone 10R, which that's $749. This one is $180. Of course, this one only has a 5.8-inch display, where that one has a 6.1-inch display. But still 1080p, basically a stretched out 1080p display that you see here. And that comes at a pixel density of 432 ppi. Of course, one maybe negative here is the fact that it does have the notch. I already mentioned the fact that it has micro USB, so I think, now that it is 2018, we should probably come with Type-C. So if you get the regular A2, it does get Type-C, but unfortunately the A2 Lite does not come with it. However, it does come with a fast charger, so this supports Qualcomm 3.0 fast charging, so that's great. Then of course it comes with the power cable, and it comes with a case. That's cool. Unfortunately, no screen protector is included out of the box. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about the processing power of the Xiaomi A2 Lite. And I'm going to go ahead and compare it to this device right here. This is the Umidigi One Pro. So the reason I'm comparing it to this device is because this is running a Snapdragon processor, and this one is running a MediaTek Helio P23 processor, but they come right in at the same price point. So that Samsung device, you can go ahead and forget about that one, because it's not even going to come close to the processing power you get on either of these two devices. So this one over here, the Helio P23 processor, you can see the single core score and the multi-core score, and it's actually noticeable. This is running the Snapdragon 625 with 4 gigs of RAM, and over here, again, the Helio P23 with 4 gigs of RAM, and there is definitely a noticeable difference. And I think in this case, the Geekbench score really does pan out in day-to-day usage. It's a noticeable difference between these two. Without a doubt, the A2 Lite is going to outperform the Umidigi One Pro in just about every way. So gaming, social media, and everything. Now, when you compare it to something like, obviously, like my iPhone 8 Plus or the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 that I'm currently videoing this on, it's definitely not going to compete with those, because those are going to score multi-core scores of like 10,000, but they also cost closer to like $1,000 in terms of the pricing, whereas this one's a more comparable phone in terms of the price point, and you can see that obviously this one outperforms it in just about every single way. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about the battery life on this device. Now, I cannot be an expert when it comes to battery life. When I do my full review, I'll talk more about the battery life in detail on this device. However, again, we're running the Snapdragon 625 processor with 4,000 milliamp hour battery, and I can say from personal experience with the Motorola Z Play, which had this similar spec, so that one was also running the 625 with a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, that you can expect really good battery life on this device. So far, I got it out of the box at 50%. I downloaded all of my apps, and you can see I'm still at 29% after a full day of usage. So that's gone down 21%. Now, I haven't used it as much as I would use a normal device, because it's kind of been a secondary device, at least for the first day. But in downloading all those apps and everything that I've done so far, I've really only used 21%, which is pretty fantastic in my opinion. And I can say that with the Moto Z Play, which has, again, the same specs, that one I was able to get close to like 10 to 12 hours of screen on time, which is to say that you're probably going to be able to get through 2 days of battery usage on this device, which is really fantastic, and a huge thumbs up on the A2 Lite when it comes to battery life. All right, so we've talked about one major selling point of this device, which is that 4,000 milliamp hour battery that can get you up to 2 full days of battery life on this device. Now let's go ahead and talk about a second major selling point, and that is the fact that it is an Android One device. So for those of you that don't know what that means, Android One doesn't mean that we're going to open up the camera app, but what it does mean is that you're running stock Android out of the box, and that means you're going to get regular updates in terms of the software for up to 2 years. So that's what an Android One device is supposed to get, 2 years of software updates. So I've already had 2 updates on this device, and another selling point here is the fact that basically it's coming with 100% stock Android, meaning there's no bloatware from the carrier. So here we have Mi Remote and Mi Drop. Those are essentially the only quote-unquote bloatware apps that you have here. So the Mi Remote is what's going to allow you to use that IR blaster that it has up here on the top, and Mi Drop's just going to allow you to transfer some files pretty easily. Outside of that, this is running stock Android. Now, that actually could be maybe a negative for some people. Those of you that like Xiaomi's MIUI, you're just not going to get the tweaks that you get on MIUI with this device because there is no shortcuts, no, knocking twice or anything like that. It is 100% stock Android, and basically what you get on stock Android is what you get on this. Now, that's a good thing in the fact that, again, it's going to get regular security updates. Also, it's going to get, obviously, Android Pie once that's available for, every device, not just Pixel devices. But you can see here, if I come down here into the system, you can see that it is up to Android 8.1, and if I go in here, you can see it has the August security patch at the moment. So awesome. If you're looking for the latest and greatest from Android and you don't want to spend a whole lot, Android One is the way to go. All right, so oftentimes one of the areas that you have to sacrifice when getting a budget-friendly device is the cameras, and I'm happy to say that that's definitely not the case when it comes to the Xiaomi A line devices. So in this case, the A2 Lite has, in my opinion, very fantastic cameras, not only for the price point, but just in general. Now, are they going to compete with something like my Note 9 or my iPhone 8 Plus or the iPhone XS Max that I'm about to get? Well, no, it's not going to compete with that, but when you compare it to other phones at its price point, like let's say the Umidigi 1 Pro, there's no question that this phone definitely has better cameras than this one, even though this one also has dual cameras and technically has higher resolution dual cameras, and it certainly beats the cameras that you get on something like the J3 Star. So this one has a 12 and 5 megapixel sensor on the back, both at f2.2 aperture, and then on the front we have a 5 megapixel selfie shooter as well. In terms of the actual camera software, you can see that we do have portrait mode, so that's going to give you that bokeh effect. So just as a quick sample here, I'll go ahead and show you just a sample of a picture I took a little bit earlier. So this is just of my Jabra Elite Active 65T true wireless earbuds, and you can see that it kind of bokeh affects everything around it. Did a nice job of kind of focusing in on the important thing, which is the earbuds, and then of course my hand as well. And it does also have bokeh effect for the front facing camera. So there I am. You can see it blurs out the background. Now, definitely without a doubt, the front camera is not as good as the rear camera. But overall, I think it does a great job for a phone at $200. So you can see, of course, we do have HDR. When it comes to video, we can shoot in up to 1080p, and it does feature things like slow motion and time lapse. If I go into the settings, you'll see that we can get 1080p. It does come with electronic image stabilization, which I think actually performs quite well on this device. And then of course you can do that time lapse interval as well. And overall, I just think the cameras on this phone, as well as the A1, as well as the A2, I don't know about, but I would assume, based on what I've experienced with the A1 and now the A2 Lite, that the cameras are very, very competitive and maybe even beat out just about every phone at the price point. So if you're looking for a very affordable phone with solid cameras, and maybe not a huge compromise in the cameras, then the A2 Lite could definitely be the phone for you. All right, so before I conclude this first impressions video, I wanted to give you guys a quick listen to the bottom firing speaker of this device. And again, it's only a bottom firing speaker. There is, of course, the earpiece up here, but the earpiece does not double as a speaker. So just a single bottom firing speaker. Let's go ahead and take a listen. All right, so that pretty much sums it up. I could hear it right there. It's a tinny speaker. There's definitely a lack of bass when it comes to the speaker. It gets quite loud, but without a doubt, the speaker is not a selling point for this device. It's going to be just fine for phone calls if you're wanting to use speakerphone because it gets quite loud. But in terms of music, you're definitely going to want to use some Bluetooth music. But the good news is that we do have a headphone jack on the top, so you can go ahead and plug in some headphones and or listen to your Bluetooth headphones or a Bluetooth speaker connected up to this device. All right, so now my concluding thoughts and first impressions of this device. Here is the biggest negative of the Mi A2 Lite, and it's the fact that it doesn't support band 12 and 17 LTE. If it had support for those bands, I would say 100% this would be a no-brainer, and I wouldn't even say don't even consider any other device because this would easily be the number one device. Now, for me personally, missing band 12 and 17 is not a big deal because, like I mentioned, pretty much everywhere I go, this phone does get LTE. It does get 4G LTE with no problem. But that won't be the case for everyone. So, just a heads up, that's the biggest, probably the biggest negative of this device. However, the positives are fantastic. So the software, the screen, the build quality overall is really solid. Also, of course, the battery life is a gigantic positive here. And then the fact that with the software, you're going to get those 2 years of regular updates on this device make it a definite winner. And so if you get LTE and you don't need band 12 and 17, you live outside the United States, you live in Europe, this is a no-brainer to me. I would say definitely pick this thing up if you're looking for a fantastic budget device that doesn't have a whole lot of compromises. The A2 Lite could be the way to go for you. Thanks for watching. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.